And we are live. How you guys doing? My name is David Lee. I'm amazing with having we got Josh Warren over here.
What's
Uh,
up? Hello, it is me.
all right. So Josh Warren wanted to do the interview today, and it was actually surprising. So Josh, you wanted to go ahead and give yourself a background of who you are.
Sure. Hey, my name's Josh Warren. I host airsoft games. I've been hosting them since 2006. Uh, I started doing it under the name BattleSim, then the War Department, then BattleSim again. I worked in an arena in a couple different fields, and in 2012 I started MilSim West, which is what most obsessed with airsoft MilSim people will know me from, and I've been doing that ever since.
All right. So what got you into airsoft?
Um, I think I was looking into airsoft, like, like normal kid stuff, right? You want awesome toy guns.
Mhm.
And then I think on my third or fourth deployment, I remember sitting to wait and do like a Yahoo search on the internet on 56K dial up after waiting in line for 45 minutes to like sit around, I'd like answer my email and then what do I really got to do for my like allotted 15 minutes or something. So I would look for shit to do when I got out. And that's where I actually found Airsoft, a group called PSAC, which was Puget Sound Airsoft Command. And they had like, a crazy HTML website, but
Mhm.
there were pictures of people playing and it was near Seattle. And I was like, I got to go do that because paintball sucks.
Right.
So I probably got into it before I even really started playing. And then when I got out of the military, like the second year I got out, I met some dudes. One of them was Brian Clarkson on a team that basically like kind of took me in and I joined the team. And that's how I know a lot of people that started MilSim West. And yeah, that's what got me into it. It's just like some friend. In fact, the thing that specifically got me into it is some guy who hosted games was like, yo, come be in my game. I'll pay you to come like staff this game. And I was like, okay, I'll try it out. It was like a Vietnam War thing. It was called Recondo School. And this guy named John Robeson was like, come do this thing. Like, you've been to Ranger School fairly recently, so you could probably like teach some stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, I still remember a lot of that shit. Sure.
Right.
I'll go do it. And I did, and it was super fun because I'd always enjoyed reenacting before. And so for a long time, I only did World War II and Vietnam airsoft. But, since then I've expanded my costumes.
Right. Right. So,
Right.
what got you? What made you start MilSim West?
There weren't any. Okay, so there weren't any games that me and the friends that I played with, and some of whom I lived with and worked in an airsoft field with, there weren't any games that we thought were really challenging. That's what
Mhm.
made it into what it is today. The reason we actually started it, it was to bolster a business called Tacoma Tactical. We were going to host summer events when playing indoors wasn't as popular, and so we actually our first Milsom West event was actually promoted as Battle Sim.
Got it.
So it was like the beginning of the organization was that what drove it in the direction that it became known for, which is like the extreme hardcore gaming scenario, was the preferences of the friends who were running it. Like the kind of
And I
games we
believe you
like to
kind of
play.
started sometime around like evolving the MilSim aspect of MilSim West like around 2013, 2014, right?
Yeah, that like the first year was like 2012 to and 2013 was like we didn't really know what we were doing. There were like 8 people all involved. So
Mhm.
so like the decision making committee was really big. And some people that have ideas that they were really passionate about, but that were like really bad ideas. For example, this guy thought it'd be a really good idea to build like a tent for registration, and he was like, "But we don't need to buy one." Because somebody else was like, well, let's just buy one. And he was like, fuck that. I'll build the best one ever for the lowest budget. And it was like the worst curse of a prop that we ever had. Because it was like, instead of just getting a 20 by 20 easy up, this guy was like, no, I can make it with piping that I buy at Home Depot and tarps. And it looked like a Mad Max like rain shelter, right?
It
And it
sounds
was
like this dude
terrible.
was just tumbling through the weeds or some shit.
No, it was just this big monstrosity of like metal pipe from Home Depot, like plumbing
Right,
pipe,
right. And then you had
right?
to try and trailer it to the every single
Yeah,
destination. So
yeah,
it's
it was a huge
pointless.
pain in the ass. Yeah, it's actually cheaper to just buy two 10 by 10s on Amazon, ship them to the venue, and then throw them away after.
Right. All right.
Right.
So
But
no,
anyway, so that's how it started, and it went on like that for a long time. And then maybe in like the middle towards the end of 2013, we did a super hardcore throwback game to the days when a lot of the guys involved in it used to play these hardcore games from like 2006 to 2010 under the name Battle Sim. Um, And so we did that event, and that's where another guy got involved, named Eric Hickley, who's an Army officer, he comes out to the games and stuff. He's involved, with behind the scenes stuff and as a player as well. But he was in there. That's where he steps in. He came to that game. He thought we had a cool organization. We were going in a cool place. He joined the team. He really helped clean it up. To be honest, in the time Eric was there, he got people to like either get serious about it or get out. So we went from like 8 people deciding down to 3 people deciding, and that was a lot easier. And then eventually just like Eric and Brian and I had differences of, I think, opinion on where we wanted to take it. I think Eric's more interested in it from like a hobby perspective because he already kind of has a career, whereas Brian and I were certainly interested in it as a career. And so it kind of transitioned.
Eric is the guy that was actually in the airsoft table talk videos from back then.
Yeah, way back. That was
like 2014.
We saw Josh from Valken in those, and we really liked their work. And we were like, yeah, let's go do that. But instead, our host was Neil Santos, who did a good job. It's just like, I look back at that, and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of talking about airsoft. Well,
but, the one thing I liked about the Airsoft Table Talk series is that it was very dynamic and in the fact that it was very three-dimensional, and that's what kept the viewer watching.
It was well done, man. Like, the team behind producing it did a good job. Like, that's what attracted it to me, was you saw it, and the hosts were like engaging people, asking good questions. The lighting was nice.
Yeah.
The set, and honestly, if you actually saw what that set was, you'd kind of laugh because it wasn't as cool.
Well, I've heard that it was actually in a garage. I'm not Brian Clarkson level, but
no. This is like I've known Brian Clarkson for a long time. This is like Brian Clarkson's dream garage. This is yeah. I mean, it wasn't a garage. It was a garage that you could park like 15 vehicles in. It was interesting. It was like a team headquarters / somebody's business.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, because he was with it for a while, for like a year and a half, 2 years. And he was really crucial in just like showing us how to do some basic stuff, explaining how to do some basic kind of, here's how to organize yourselves. Here's how to get your tasks together. He, in a way, I think he helped us get rid of so pretty much everybody that started it, we're still friends with, I would say. But not everybody wanted to like get as into airsoft as I guess me and Brian did, right? So I think Eric helped everybody make that decision because like a lot of our friends who started MilSim West, they've moved on to bigger and better things. They're doing other stuff with their life, but they still come out. We still see them. It's awesome to play with them. It's fun when a friend comes who helped you start a thing, and now it's kind of like they were in the band like 7 years ago or something, and now you're touring, and they're just happy for you.
Right. We got a submitted question. Thank you.
Okay.
We got a submitted question from E-House Gun Gamers, Eric Housney. I'm sure you've met him at MilSim West. What is, in your opinion, the most important aspect of game design?
Ooh. I don't know. I have a prepared answer for the 4 priorities of the promoter. But, oh, no, David. You disappeared, my man. You disappeared. Or did I disappear?
Sorry. I had to grab some water. Can you hear me, Josh? Josh, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, the call fucking fucked up.
Okay, got it.
Oh, no, you're back. All right, cool.
Yeah, no, I had to disappear a second. I just pulled myself off. So, what were you saying?
Word. Okay, so I had some time to think about that, but still all I have is the 4 priorities of the promoter. And then as far as game design, I'll tell you what I like. But game design's hard. Like, game design's almost more fun to do by committee, in my opinion. It's running a business that's hard to do by committee, right? Whereas, like, designing a scenario is a little easier when you know what everybody wants to do. So the 4 priorities of the promoter, in my opinion, are 1, your relationship with your venues. 2, the safety of your customer. 3, the enjoyment of the customer or / quality of event. And then 4, like, everything else, right? So as far as priority number 3 goes, what is the most important part of priority number 3 for me? You just gotta, I mean, what's the point if it's not original, right? That's all it is, man.
Right.
What's the point if you don't have an original idea? That's all it is. And maybe like, don't look at anybody else's shit, man. Just do your own shit. Sometimes you get good stuff from people. I'm not going to say that I haven't seen ideas that other people have had that I've used because they were good. The most specific one I can think of is the third coast subgun rule. That's a great rule. I love it. Especially for games where you're going to kind of have semi-auto only and sort of like what I would call mid-course standards. So like at MilSim West, there's no minimum engagement distance. That way I don't have to hear any shit about like, well, I got shot. Okay, man. Like, I'm just trying to make sure everybody's safe. You know, as far as you getting shot and you're hurt because you like rushed into a room and you got lit up in the face. Well, that's what happens when you rush into a room, you know? Right. And furthermore, I would even say, and if you're a real airsoft nerd, you can know who I ripped this quote off of. You control how much you get hit in the game, in my opinion. Like you cannot get.
I actually don't know.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's fine. I'll let the true fans who are watching wonder who that was. But it wasn't me. I jacked it from another dude. And it's true. You control exactly how much you get hit. So, you know, I mean, you can call the first hit or you can call the 13th. That's kind of up to you, man.
Right.
But like I said, that subgun rule is rad because it addresses some of those problems in a game that's supposed to be kind of more open to everybody.
Right. All right. Next question currently is the airsoft community is abrasive and toxic overall, but MilSim West is consistently high attendance and holds itself above most drama. What is your approach to community management and what techniques do you employ?
So honestly, I think people like conflict and their drama. So I think as long as you just kind of ride the wave, that's really the key. I mean, yeah, that's it, man.
It's kind of like what's going on right now with back in the Valentine's Day shooting. The NRA got really popular even more popular based off the hate that was going on because it was free advertisement, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's it, man. Like a lot of politics, just intentional outrage pieces and shit. And since everything's geared around social media, like a little intentional outrage is always going to get you more attention. Yeah, that's all it really is to that. As far as like the customer on customer stuff, at MilSim West, at least, I think we just try and highlight like the culture which surrounds the scene, not necessarily something that I myself do, makes it such that people want to be part of these larger teams. And so they kind of keep their shit in line to a point. Like if there's some line that's crossed, usually there's a social group that can say, hey, look, you can't talk to people like that or you can't be on the team. And for some people, that's like, oh, no, the games won't be fun without my team. You know, so probably the same shit that happens in other airsoft communities, I would imagine. I mean, you kind of have to imagine like some people go to all the events and that's maybe like half the people. But then each event promotion has its own little scene and follows it.
Right.
Sort of like Den Kennedy's fans and Ramones fans or something.
Right. So here's another question for you in regards to that, the consistency. How often do you have returning customers and how consistent do they always come out? It's kind of like how some of us in AMS go up and go back to AMS regardless. And it's not even just like, the design is more like just because we're trying to support their business.
Right. I mean, obviously a lot of it has to do with just like what people like and who your friends are and where you feel comfortable hanging out. So as far as our returns, I'm looking it up right now, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40%. It's good, you know? And I'd say it's even more than that. Like, I don't know what the percentage of new players is, but I know who spends the most money. That's like the main metric that I can get is who spends the most money. And there's a very loyal group of people who spend the most money. And a lot of them are my friends. A lot of them are Brian's friends. A lot of them are mutual friends. There are teammates, stuff like that. You know, we're connected to them in some other way through the scene, not just as a promoter. So people definitely do it because they like it. You know,
right?
So
yeah, we're gonna move on to the next question.
I don't know. I don't have stats for you on that right now.
That's fine.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do one more question, then we'll get back to submitted questions. So MilSim in itself does not have this aspect as often, but you guys probably pushed it out the best. And I preached about MilSim West every once in a while, but it is definitely suspension of disbelief. And this also comes from being a filmmaker, not like Brian Clarkson, but suspension of disbelief is a big thing when it comes to entertainment. So The question
I gotta tell you,
was,
you can't call Brian Clarkson a filmmaker. You shouldn't have done that. That's an insult to filmmakers everywhere.
excuse me.
But I mean, I'll concede that he's in the visual brotherhood, but like filmmakers, you know, they do the whole
Right. Well,
you know,
videographer, filmmaker. I mean in that
sure.
general
Yeah, he's
spectrum.
a good cameraman for sure.
Right. Right. So suspension of disbelief and why it's important.
Yeah, so personally, the reason I think it's important is because airsoft is a game. It's designed to be a game. It's not like paintball. If you wanted it to be scored and be objective and have there be a clear winner or loser, it would be paintball. As I've said many times, I think that the most important thing in airsoft is not whether or not we call our hits; it's whether we respect each other. I think that the important thing to take away from that is like it's not supposed to be competitive. It's just fun. You know what I mean? If I wanted to be scored, I'd have it be fucking paintball. And so, yeah, that's it for me, man. Like that's the difference, I guess.
Okay, so
I didn't really answer the question, did I?
No, you didn't.
No, give it to me again.
So suspension of disbelief and why it's important. So like so if I was like the player that comes in.
Yeah. So I got sidetracked. Basically, because it removes the competitive aspect, which is the worst aspect. Because the worst, I'll tell you like this: as a host, and basically mostly my job is safety. A couple times a year, I'll actually work an event as like a lower level staff leader. The thing that I don't like dealing with the most is like adult customers acting like children when they're like, but I did the win and the seats and and you're like, holy shit, man, this is a fucking game. Like, it reminds me of when I used to run an arena, and I would sit up in the tower, and as soon as people came off the break and shot, and I could hear people getting shot, but I couldn't really see it. I'd just be like, players hit on the PA, right? And I knew the players who were hit because they'd look up at the tower and be like, me? Oh, no, not me. And it's like, oh, really? Okay, everyone who looked is hit. I mean, it's... unfortunately, like the point of it is to have fun. So at MilSim West, like we don't have points. There's no winners. Both sides talk a lot of shit about who won or lost after. I mean, again, that's well covered in that one special with Neil Santos. But ultimately, that's the special sauce to MilSim West. Is it's supposed to be just like, I'm just trying to translate personally, like the thing that I ran into the reenacting and airsoft hobbies forever with people is they'd find out that I had this military background, and they'd find out about my deployments, and they'd be like, hey, what's it like? And I wondered, like, I wonder if there was a game that could make you feel that way, where everything's a little confusing. Nothing's entirely clear to you. You can really only see what's in your lane, and you have to do it for a long period of time without really knowing when things change or end. So that's the important bit, is like, that helps people forget about who hit what the score is. Because maybe sometimes we set you up to lose, and it was just supposed to be an awesome story of your, like, over 40 hours, you stood it out to the last man, right? Like, that's a cool story.
And I'm assuming you've never gone to a John Liu event, but...
No, the first airsoft game I ever went to that I wasn't working in was Lion Claws 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you think of, like... Well, I don't want to talk about it because this gets into a confusing part of it. It's not drama; it's just confusing to explain. Okay, so next question. Someone wanted to ask, and I'll put it out as a joke. Let's see. About how many basic human rights are violated at a MilSim West event?
I mean, I will say there have certainly been customers who showed up over the years who didn't quite understand, like, that it was a 40-hour simulation of being in a combat unit. So you're expected to, like, self-sustain and carry everything you need to live, eat, sleep, and poop comfortably, like, on your person. And you're going to have to do all that, like, sort of cooperatively with other people for a while. That can be a rude awakening. And certainly it has to be, like, a gender-neutral safe space because, like, if you've got mixed genders and mixed sexual preferences all in the same patrol base, like, everyone's going to have to find a way to go use the bathroom somewhere with both someone covering them. You understand what I'm getting at? Like,
yes.
Everyone's going to have to become comfortable with each other and respectful. And so I think that's, for some people, that's like, holy shit, I have to poop out here with other people. I got to sleep next to that weirdo.
I mean, if you have to go shit in the woods, you're going to go shit in the woods. I'm assuming there's no latrine or any sort of restroom. You're just out there.
No. Typically we have latrines, man. I'm not trying to. There's very few venues but like there are definitely some venues where you're going to shit in the woods or you're going to pee in the woods, right? There's some venues where it's like, okay, well, you had to go and it's a 45-minute walk back to the nearest porta potties. I mean, you're gonna have to go right here. But most people are strategic about it. If you get enough like kind of high fiber content leading up to,
And I'm sure there's been enough people that have hunted or camped out that they actually know the drill.
Yeah, it's not like crazy shit. And there are porta potties. You know, I don't want to have to do. Hey, venue, do you mind if 500 people just like shit in a hole and then we bury it? Is that cool with you? No, man. I mean, it's enough work just running around being like, don't pee in the buildings. You know, that's a pain in the ass.
Right.
How many times do I got to say it? Like, ugh.
Josh,
That's like literally.
Someone says Ethan Haas is saying Joshua Warren equals GOAT. I was about to say eats GOAT equals GOAT.
Greatest of all time. I appreciate that. I wish I was the greatest of all time. That'd be incredible.
We're not going to answer this one. When will David ever go? Well, I'm planning on this year. I'll probably do whatever is the Super Bowl. We've been discussing about what could be one, and I'm just going to go. Hopefully by the end of this year, once I figure out the family situation. What do you have to say about that one last RR kid? I don't know what that means. It's someone from Mayhem. E-House has a question saying, or not question, but it's saying MSW is hiking with LARP and guns. 10 out of 20. All right.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
go ahead.
Be accurate.
All right. We're going to get back to the questions that were submitted on Facebook. Airsoft today versus 10 years ago. Well, I'll definitely say one thing. Like, from what I've always heard about Airsoft from like 2008, it's always been people that came in from Call of Duty getting into Airsoft because that was the revolution of Airsoft in itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it used to be. See, it's all local too, right? Like every single scene is kind of different. Everybody's got their own regional and cultural groupings. I know as far as the national scene, like there was really nothing back then except for John Liu, really, right?
There was MilSim events, and that's when they started doing the whole helicopter thing. I was about to say Holocaust helicopter thing, and then you had John Liu trying to go after them because of the helicopter thing. So,
yeah. I mean that was a while ago. I was playing like I didn't even play like I only played Vietnam or World War II themed airsoft. You know, you had your Pine Plains series up in New England that later became Black Sheep. I mean, Third Coast has been around for a while, but I don't think they were running back then.
No, I believe there was John Liu, there was MilSim events, and I know Pine Plains was a thing, but I think those are the only three things back in around 2008 to 2013.
Yeah, there were a couple different games that I remember hearing about from people, but you know, it's like the lost history of Airsoft. Who cares? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so when you see the differences of Airsoft, like I think back then Airsoft was a lot more MilSim oriented than just Airsoft or paintball oriented, right? So, would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd say Airsoft's always MilSim oriented. For example, like I have a new project that's not really intended to be like MilSim, because my idea of MilSim is MilSim West.
Mm-hmm.
And all the time, like I see customers use the word MilSim to refer to that product. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, if that's what you want to call it. And I think but that's how most Airsoft is. Like MilSim is a marketing word for 3-day Airsoft event.
Right.
I disagree, but like, that's the reality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's people out there. Well, I remember a friend of mine, I'm not going to mention his name, but Recondo Operations Group, they had a thing that was similar to the MilSim West aspect, but it was only more or less regional. And it was
there's plenty of different like flavors of game at every regional scene for sure.
Right. But it's like what you would consider MilSim, what you consider MilSim would be MilSim West, and what they had over in like near Fort Bragg was RealSim, which is with blank firing, having airsoft guns, and then they would run it on an AO in the same aspect of what yours is, I believe. Probably not the same. Anyways, okay. Next question, and this is probably one of the biggest subjects: veterans in airsoft. We had a discussion about this a little while back, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask you if we ever met up. And that was like in response to veterans for airsoft, and you were not a big fan of when people try and push or be a veteran and then just try and eat off what other people or donate into, right? Or nonprofit logics.
Yeah, it's just like you can make whatever kind of thing you want. You know, for airsoft, like it's a free country. Anybody can do whatever they want, and they should. I just don't. I don't like the veteran sympathy card. You know, I got into this hobby, maybe because I was a veteran, but definitely the reason I got into the hobby is because the group that recruited me and the person that recruited me was like, yo, you have some real usable skills here. So I can get you into this. Do you get what I'm driving at?
Right, right.
Whereas I didn't ask anybody, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
It's not like I was like, oh, dude, I got out of the army. I'm fucking fucked up. I can't handle my own shit. Like, I made those dudes money working those shows.
Right.
Like, it worked out for everybody. Right. And so I guess not to be an asshole, but like not all veterans have what I would call marketable skills. A lot of them do, but not everybody does. That's not true of just veterans. That's true of everybody. So as far as like, I don't understand why the whole thing in airsoft is like, oh, veterans should get a free ride. Where's the free ride?
Well, I partially don't. And excuse me for interrupting you. I partially don't believe that veterans should be treated at a higher level in airsoft because because you're a veteran doesn't mean that you know everything. And I hate that aspect. It
doesn't even mean you're a nice person. You could be an asshole. I mean, half the time I've interacted with veterans in airsoft, they are also, it's some guy I meet that pisses me off because he's fucking stolen valor or he's lording his shitty experience over like kids. It's somebody with not very relevant skills that are trying to like preach these not very relevant skills to people. Like, why should I fucking listen to you about lining up, dude? I'm trying to shoot BB guns.
Right. And then once you find out their credentials, then you're like, why should we credit you? I mean, the next person
how much does the credential really matter? I mean, it's useful in some ways, but
I think to a certain extent,
the basic airsoft tactic is fucking musketry. So the most ballinest team ever would be a team where like they broke it down and like all the officers and NCOs had like fucking sashes and bugles and right. You just need people to line up and walk forward and shoot together. That's all you got.
We'll actually have a MilSim West World War I event, right? So,
no, there's not enough interest.
I mean, there's not even enough guns that exist in airsoft for World War I guns. Like maybe we have the most in the gun. Maybe no, it's not even the most in the gun. Excuse me.
No, because it has to be the fucking super long version.
Yeah. So, I mean, like in the aspect of airsoft, I have met far and few that have actually had enough combat experience that could actually go clear rooms. And excuse me, I actually wanted to say what I mean to say was that airsoft in itself is more like World War II, like real guns back then. And I'm not saying that it didn't shoot that far, but a lot of
it's more like World War II in that 90% of the people are like total conscripts and kind of don't really know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
But they think they know.
Right.
So
well,
it's
and
more
most
like
of the time it's like they're shooting very close.
Oh yeah, most of the time it's in very close range. I mean, it's about a third of the range. Like I heard the average range of engagement in World War II is like 150 meters, but I'm not an awesome historian. But let me just talk shit about. So my veterans and airsoft rant in general is that I'm very proud of my service. I think that everybody should be honest about their service. I think that's really important because if you're not, you're degrading yourself, your unit, your comrades, everybody. And there's so much dishonesty in the veteran sympathy card. Oh, I'm fucked up because of these reasons. It's like that's nothing like what we were taught in the military now. I understand there are people that have legitimate injuries, that have legitimate, psychological and physiological issues as a result of not just combat service, but service. Like all service is hazardous, all service is honorable. That's 100% a fact. But I also know just as many vets that are like, oh man, I got the awesome disability rating at the VA, but I'm fine. Right? I mean, like that's a fucking joke. And then we go around and we complain about the VA on the other hand. I don't claim any of that shit. I know people who have Purple Hearts. I don't have a Purple Heart, so I don't claim any VA shit. Right. I'm straight. Like I had a sports injury from Ranger, like, oh, my knee. Oh, sometimes my knee hurts. Right. But like if you just keep exercising, it works out. It's coming back now, though. It's coming back. But anyway.
Okay, so we're gonna go.
So that's how I feel about it. It's just like the veteran sympathy card takes away like the self-reliance shit, everything you've been taught in the military. Suddenly we get out and we're supposed to be these like sympathy machines. We all have PTSD. It's ridiculous. It belittles the people that are actually suffering from PTSD.
It's partially why I just treat a veteran or just like any military personnel as just another person. Like if they're treated more as well, if they appreciate it more than a person that just says thank you for your service.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's there was a point I think where it started to become compulsory. So like swung hard the other way. Because I remember growing up hearing about how like everyone disapproved of the war in Vietnam, and the classic non-vet story is like, oh, I was spit on when I got home, which I'm not sure. Like that's a lot of coordinated saliva spitting. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, Yeah, consider what percentage of Vietnam vets were actually spit on.
I wouldn't know. I mean, all the stories I hear from my dad, he was actually trained by the Marines, but he was just dealing with howitzer stuff. So I wouldn't know. But he was a Vietnam, like born in Vietnam guy. So I wouldn't know.
My dad never told me that he was spit on when he returned to the States, but maybe I'm not remembering. You know what I mean? But like, that's neither here nor there. All I'm saying is,
by the way, your boy Austin Evans says hello.
Okay, what's up? So I got to answer Austin's question because it's important and it's part of this. Okay. Basically, airsoft and especially MilSim is like this fucking vector for motherfuckers who want to make up fake war stories, and it makes sense because like I make up fake war stories. That's what I do at MilSim West. You come to a fake war between you and Russia, and we have this fantasy fucking war game. So it's like, where's the line, right? I mean, for me, the line is like, I'm not going to do historical missions replicating missions I was on. I'm not going to do it. I won't produce it.
I'm sure some of it's classified still.
Well, no, it's not really that, dude. Anybody who tells you shit like that is a fucking liar. Like, you can go on my Facebook right now and see all my deployment photos. But it's because I've seen other people I know that were NCOs, that were officers, and people who were above me that are now posting those pictures. I mean, fuck. How many Navy SEAL Disney movie deals are there? Honestly, I've lost track. No, I'm not trying to shit on SEALs at all. They're the greatest writers in the United States military. But you know, incredible screenwriters, awesome producers. But you know, I don't think anybody's trying to bust me out for what amounts to a bunch of missions, which sounds really cool, but like it's just a lot of fucking dudes being like, "Oh no, don't kill me. Okay, I'll go with you."
So what you're getting at is with the war stories, it's just more like bragging rights for them, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, man, people just want to talk shit, and then they hear these fucking stories, and they're mostly true, you know. Okay, so the only thing I remember from basic is at the graduation, the company commander was like, and this was before 9/11, so nobody knew that there was actually going to be a war. He was like, he said something to the effect of like, and now they'll go off to their careers in the army and come up with awesome war stories, some of which will be true. And that shit is 100% a fact. Like, the amount of people that I've met at airsoft games that talk about fucking killing people and canoeing skulls and like eating the fucking brains of their enemies and shit. Think about that.
I still believe in hearing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, based on that anecdotal evidence, I would imagine that we've done the entire global war on terror has been run by like cannibal zombies, right? Like genetically engineered. That's why we all have PTSD when we come home, because we fucking ate everyone's skulls.
Is this what we call an American?
It's just a bunch of nonsense. You know, it's just a bunch of fucking nonsense. Like, less than 20% of the people probably are doing the killing.
Right.
Okay. Not that many combat troops even get to fire their fucking weapons. You know, that's not a super, like, maybe in some units it's not rare, in some time periods, in some places, but I think that's.
I mean, the one thing I've always heard the most is that 90% of the time that you're on your deployment is boredom.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Some of the worst things that really happened to me, like, as far as some of the stuff that I remember that was like the most physically and mentally challenging on deployments, was like doing foot patrols in really austere terrain for weeks on end. Doing raids like night after night after night after night with like really no sleep. But those times were even easier. Oh, yo, what's up? Your dinner's here.
Yeah,
dude, is that pho?
Yes,
I want some of that.
He surprised me.
Dude.
So that's my dad. So excuse me. So
no, that's cool. My dad comes to games. So anyway, that's what's up, man.
All right. So another question is going to be, and we've always had this discussion. There's been a little bit of history. We're not going to mention names, but veterans using airsoft in the name of PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, and as we just sort of covered, the majority of veterans haven't even really seen combat, right? Not everyone not even the majority of people get PTSD from combat, because then like everyone who's ever been in a car, did you have a car crash?
Yes.
Oh fuck, are you okay, David? Oh my god, that must have been so hard for you. Are you okay? You must be fucked up because of it, huh? I mean, yeah, God, I can't believe what you must have gone through. See what I'm getting at? It's fucking nonsense. Yeah, like how many people would be, you know, it's like, oh, you get deployed and you got fucking PTSD? You know, come on, man. You know,
I was originally part of
like I said, it's important to be honest. So I think, you know, to be somebody who is deployed in the service of our country, maybe you've even been overseas, you know, anybody who served, but like especially for me, it always seems to be people that like had deployments, but they're just kind of telling other people's stories or trying to imply things. I think like 80% of stolen valor is implied.
Right.
And then
So
20% is like eye patch Ivan. You remember eye patch Ivan?
oh, we're not going to mention names.
No, but I mean that was funny. Come on, his name's
Right,
fucking
right.
eye patch Ivan. Like,
I'm triggered, a little bit triggered. Okay, so anyways, so I mean, I used to be part of an organization, and it was more or less developing, and then it just fell apart. But she just was a psychiatrist, but that was on a whole different level. She was, with all her intentions, wanted to help people, but like you saw other people that just tried to benefit and pocketed the money or used it for other reasons or other use.
well,
And
it's just the same. It's different versions of the same thing. Like you're
right,
doing something for, yeah, you know, you don't need to fucking say it's for charity. If you're putting on West Side Story, just put on a show, right? And you don't have to tell anybody it's like for children's cancer. You can just charge $10 or whatever.
right,
I don't know how much people bet now, but
right. So you don't believe that PTSD should not be should be tried in airsoft. No one should be trying to use airsoft as a way to cope with PTSD.
for like combat veterans specifically,
Yes.
yeah, I mean it's fucking nonsense. That's like that literally makes as much sense as saying, let's David. You know what I think would help you get over your car crash PTSD? Let's fucking have you demolition derby on the weekends. I mean, you would. I mean, maybe you do see that kind of fucking nonsense. I don't know. You know, like let me Google it. Maybe that's a fucking thing that crazy people motherfucking do, where they're like, "Oh, I'm insane. I can't handle it." Like, dude, people have been going to war for like tens of thousands of years. In fact, one of the most helpful things in my life, in terms of just like, because I will say I've experienced like I guess post combat stress. You know, just in the years immediately after the combat I was in, it was weird to think about the void of death and how sudden it is and how it can happen. You know, just like how your best efforts won't stop it. I mean, that's fucking some shit to handle when you're like 22, 23, or at any age, really. I mean, you know, anything with loss and carnage and mayhem is a little bit to handle if you're a normal person. Now, some people truly enjoy that shit, so they shouldn't go to airsoft for free, right? And then some people will eventually get over it. And so for me, like, you know, I think obviously there's a whole host of kind of veterans issues that.
Can you hear me?
That's a good question. Yeah, we should answer that one from Mayhem.
Oh, well, it is 4 years ago, so I don't really care.
No, it's fine. I'm not gonna fuck with you like that, man. Yeah, okay. So Austin, my guy Austin Moseville Medic over here, he has a good point. Like some people actually have fucking PTSD, man, and if it's that bad, like you shouldn't be on the fucking, you shouldn't be playing simulated battle. You know, that doesn't make any sense. And honestly, I have yet to meet. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't met anyone that I know who I believe who's told me I have combat connected PTSD, right? That is, and it's therapeutic for me to play airsoft or MilSim. I haven't met anybody that said that I was like, damn, I'll reconsider my position. You might be right. Like, I haven't met that yet. So
I think airsoft in itself is a good stress reliever, but I wouldn't say it's something that would help. I mean, it's really hard to explain, and I don't want to get into it.
It's I think it's comfortable for people who are leaving the military because, like, the teams. Okay, a lot of the teams aspire to have a pseudo military structure, and so that seems natural to a lot of guys coming out of the military. But that's not really related to PTSD or anything like that. Like, you could be in the fucking Air Force, man. You know, whatever. Like, there's people in the Air Force who have done some gnarly shit. But my point is, you could be a laundry and bath specialist, you know, and you'd still enjoy it because you'd be like, okay, I understand the structure, right? I sort of know some shit about guns because I was in the military. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Or maybe I just know how to do laundry and like twice a year I shoot. But either way, the whole PTSD thing is like, it's just fucking nonsense. It's like, honestly, I think it appeals to people who play airsoft or MilSim because they think it's patriotic. And so like they think like, oh man, me doing this helps like Jim, you know, with his bullshit, or Steve with his bullshit, or you know, like whichever friend of theirs that they're doing that shit to you where they're like, oh my God, are you okay from your car crash? Like that, I'll feel better about myself for being sympathetic to this person kind of shit.
Right.
They like thinking it helps somebody.
Right.
And,
so
you know, it's just
a username on YouTube, Old Rube. When is Lieutenant Krosnov coming back? I don't know if that's an existing person.
When is who?
Lieutenant Krosnov. I don't know if that's a legitimate thing or is that just a character. You got a story?
No, I think I know who that is, and if I don't know, it's somebody who so Ramzan Krasnov is the elusive co-founder of Russians. He's my buddy. He designed the MSW logo, but he's doing some super squirrely shit now, and he's kind of moved back off into the real world of military stuff, and he doesn't want to be identified, basically.
Oh, wow.
But he still likes to fuck around with his internet like aesthetic kind of brands that he has.
Okay.
And a lot of it's still real popular. So whoever that is like, see, they're asking member zero because that's member zero.
Okay, so I got a personal question for you, and this just has to do with Shelby. Okay, so Insurgencies. That's probably one of the most unique things that could be in MilSim, just because you don't get that enough in MilSim. MilSim in itself, to me, is very much like, and I like American MilSim, but some of the things I just dislike about MilSim in general, it's very much 24/7 direct action. I'm not a big fan of that anymore, just because it just wears you out time and time again. So Insurgencies, why did you guys do Insurgencies?
Why did I do it? I guess we just wanted a new game type. We wanted something that would work a little better on smaller venues, because some venues are like a little smaller, and it's like, well, what do we fill time with? People need something to do if there's not a long way to walk on every mission. And then we were kind of thinking like, how could we make a game that makes more sense, that for some people could be a slightly more casual experience? Like if you go and play civilian, it's a lot more casual. Like no one's yelling at you to do shit. You just do your own little thing in the game. So a couple different reasons. We just wanted to do something new and fresh, something we thought would be popular, and that's kind of where it came from. I mean, yeah. I know I'm aware of other games that were, there are other kind of open world games. I think the one that I would be the most aware of would be the one at Ballahack Revelations, and so I guess I was certainly inspired by the success of that, just because that's been such an awesome, like that's like a destination kind of role play event,
right,
nationally that people go to. But overall, just like business brainstorming. How do we make the next new thing for our shit, right? Like now people have played MilSim West. What else we got?
Right. All right. So we're going to do 2 more questions, hopefully, and then we're going to end the live stream. So someone asked about a Vietnam era MilSim West event. Do you have any intentions?
I don't,
I think I'll have to go. I think I'm just going to go build an arrow lower and upper and go do a MilSim West event with an M16.
I mean, you could anyway. You could just wear nom shit and be a fucking militia guy pretty much. But it'd look a little weird if you did like an exact nom impression. But no one would turn you away at checking. I mean, like people would screech about it in photos, but no one would turn you away. Probably not. I don't think so, because we're just going to kind of try and keep banging the World War II drum. And I see other people doing nom shit and doing it pretty well. And so I don't know if there's really anything that I would be able, like, as far as me and Brian would bring to the table.
I think it'd be fun to see a lot of Asians that come together as the OP4 and actually speak Vietnamese. That would be pretty funny to see.
I mean, it would. I've definitely been involved in some cool nom games, but like honestly, you're just not going to be able to racially segregate people. Like that's fucked up. No one's going to want to do that. I'm just saying, like when I used to do World War II reenacting, there was a while I did it with like a spouse for a while, and dudes would get pissed all the time that she was dressed up like a German, right? And they'd be like, "What the fuck," right? And they get all mad about it, like, "Oh, well, that's not historically accurate, so you can't have women." And she'd be like, "Well, do they have 400-pound SS dudes?" Like, because they didn't, right? Well, it makes as much sense, right? Like, you wouldn't see a fucking 400-pound motherfucker rolling, right? Like,
let everyone play.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if it's a fantasy, if the guy went and found a size fucking 48 chest jacket, let him fucking play with it then,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all just fucking pretending. So
we're all trying to have fun.
Right. You don't need to be that serious. But yeah, that's it. No nom stuff, just because I see other people doing it. They're doing it well. I don't want to step on shit other people are doing that much, especially if I don't think I have anything to add, and I don't. I'm just going to try and keep banging that World War II drum. So.
Okay. Let's see.
Really, it's like I just can't be into that many scenes at once, man. That's too weird for me. Like I'm just trying to get a World War II kit back together now.
What made you actually do World War II in general? Like, I'm assuming you're just doing it once a year, but what made you want to do World War II?
It was a project that G&G wanted to do, actually. They were
Okay.
really interested in it. So, it was basically kind of their idea to put something together. And,
I'm assuming they have a lot of novelty guns for airsoft in that aspect, right?
Yeah, they make a fair bit of World War II stuff. And so that was kind of, I think, the deal in terms of that, was just to kind of get their name out there in that sort of genre. And, it went as well as our previous events did in terms, like, it was the exact, I remember why we decided to make MilSim West set in the time period it's set in, because it was like having the same kind of turnouts we had like 10 years ago.
And I believe you had like a 250 player turnout for like the World War II event, right?
No. But it was that good. Yeah. I mean, I guess you don't know what that looks like in a picture. There's a picture. You can tell me how many people you think there is.
I can't remember. I thought there was a cap, and there was actually 250 people. I'd have to look at it again. I guess there was a smaller people.
I've never put a cap on any game.
Okay, excuse me then.
I think caps are like a weird marketing thing, right? Like, right. Really, you won't go to 310 tickets? Like, get the fuck out.
Money's money.
I mean, right. And there's very few. There are some games where I see them capped because the size of the venue. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's different for you guys because you guys have a very, very open environment. So you can't. If you have like 1,000 people in the event, you're not going to have an issue. It's just maybe a little bit more dense.
It just means adding more staff. So adding more people is adding more staff. That's all there is to it. But ultimately, we've got a really good, collective of dudes who staff these things. There's maybe 40 guys, so it makes it really easy. Because if you assume there's 40 people that do this part time, so about most of the time, we're usually able to bring 15 to 20 guys. Obviously we have to fly them out and pay them and shit, but
right. Okay.
So that's really all it is. It's just multiplying that. Whereas, like, if I was hosting a game really small somewhere, I would probably, maybe consider capping it.
Okay. So we're going to do the last question. We don't have any more suggested questions. So where do you see MilSim West over the next couple years?
I think just continuing to develop new and cutting edge MilSim, continuing to set the standard for what like the hardcore top of the genre is going to be, and kind of having that a challenge out there for players who are seeking a challenge. As far as an organization and as a business, I see us expanding our brand overseas. We'll be hosting a game in Guadalajara, in Jalisco, Mexico.
But no games in Russia yet?
No, that's I mean, honestly, the problem with overseas promotion is you got to find a good partnership with somebody that you really trust, and that's the most important bit. And I've been working on trying to take us overseas for almost 2 years now, so it's just a matter of like finding the right person.
Where is that location, by the way? The one that you're talking about overseas, is it like is it by Guam? Not Guam. I'm sorry. You're Panama?
Talking about no, man, Mexico, Jalisco,
okay.
Guadalajara. So it's like the third largest city in North America. Guadalajara, Los Angeles, and Mexico City or some shit like that.
And they have a lot of people there for airsoft?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
yes,
you've been talking like a lot. No, it's okay. I just no, David, I didn't check at all. We just picked a spot randomly on the map. We were like, so if you look at population of Spanish speakers in the Western Hemisphere, the top 3 cities are Guadalajara, which is actually 5 separate cities, but the venue itself is about an hour and 15 minutes from the airport. It's a semi-tropical venue. It's about 800 acres. So it's very lush and not what you think of. When you think of Mexico, you think of like the desert, the brushlands, the kind of, right?
Yeah, that's what comes to mind always.
Yeah, no, this has like a waterfall and a swimming hole on the property and shit. It's much greener. It's a different area of Mexico.
Okay, so it's very lush.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty south. It's maybe 3-4 hours to the east of Puerto Vallarta. So, it's getting down there, man, into the tropical spectrum. Not quite tropical, but it's like not a desert, which is, I think, what most people think Mexico looks like. But it's an interesting, technical piece of terrain. It looks like everything we've been putting out in the Spanish language has been really well received by the community. And based by the initial like social media RSVPs, I think not only will it be one of the bigger games that MilSim West has done, it's going to be the biggest game in Mexico, which makes me really excited. Just because, like, yeah, right, like the fucking biggest game in Mexico.
And it's from an American company.
Yeah, well, what I'm excited about is a couple things. One, that there's a scene down there that we can go be a part of with, right? And two, it's a challenge to try and do what we're already doing, but do it in another language. I mean, ultimately, everybody that's staffing the game is going to have at least 6 months of time where we're just going to have to make a commitment to at least learning some basic level of Spanish dialogue. Period. Like, you're not going to be able to host an event without doing it.
I mean, whether that means you have a Spanish interpreter, right?
Well, we'll have interpreters for everybody, but like if you're going to address a group, you need to at least have like you could have some fucking flashcards. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. At least show people that you've prepared and you understand. Like, you understand what I'm driving.
What type of style is this event going to be? Is it actually going to be like the normal MilSim West, or is this going to be like a Mexican?
Yeah, no. This is the normal MilSim West force on force format because that's going to be new down there, so they'll be excited to see it. There won't be any blanks.
Right, because Mexican law. So, but it is going to be like U.S. forces versus Russia, or is it something different?
Yeah, so the scenario setup is actually quite interesting. So the game itself is going to be set on the border between Venezuela and Colombia. And the storyline is basically Venezuela and Colombia, as Venezuela has been rapidly degrading, they have a lack of toilet paper, apparently. This is a real thing. I'm not even kidding. It's like because of socialism, there's only so many TP factories in Venezuela. So there's like a toilet paper war going on between Venezuela and Colombia. And Colombia is way pro-U.S. and Venezuela is ostensibly pro-Russian, right? And so that's kind of the setup, right? Is like Colombia and Venezuela are at war. Are there Russian advisors on the Venezuelan side? Are there NATO advisors on the Colombian side? Because it's actually illegal to wear Mexican army. So the reason we didn't set it in Mexico is because it's illegal to wear the uniform of the Mexican army in Mexico.
Okay. Sounds like impersonation stuff.
Yeah, there's serious federal crimes associated with that. So that's like a big no-no for Mexican airsofters in that scene. They don't do that. They typically wear, either some other national-based kit or just kind of whatever they like.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of why we made the setting because we're not, we're anticipating more than just the Mexican audience showing up for it. I mean, we're offering 2 types of tickets for it. There's the standard ticket, which is like well within the price range of a local player in the Guadalajara area, at least somebody who has a job. And then there's another ticket that's well within the price range of somebody from like, say, Argentina or the U.S. or Canada, or like Mexico City or, Rio de Janeiro, like somebody who is in a slightly higher income bracket and wants to travel internationally to games, or maybe just nationally, right? Because it's about the same people. And that includes a little more stuff. It costs a little more. Basically includes like pick up at the airport, some accommodations, some food.
That's
good.
So,
yeah. So you don't have to do. Yeah, kind of. It's like all the shit that players do games anywhere. But since it's in Mexico and like not everybody's going to be comfortable speaking Spanish or dealing necessarily on their own with businesses down there, we're just going to take care of it for them.
Okay.
And because we want to show, personally, I want to show the Mexican scene like that MilSim West customers are so motivated that we'll go play anywhere in the world, basically. That's personally my opinion.
That's very good. All right, we're going to go ahead and close it off. So thank you guys for taking a look. And Josh Warren, do you have anything else to say before we close off?
I think, no, I love Airsoft. Thanks for listening.
All righty. Well, thank you guys for watching. Josh Warren, thank you very much.
All right, take it easy, man.
All right, bye-bye.